Hey everyone, this video is not poking fun at MiHoYo or HoYoverse in how they like to do their events or their endgame modes. It is just my personal thought and my personal experience with this endgame mode called Stygian Onslaught. With that out of the way, enjoy today's video. So, as of recording this, the new Stygian Onslaught endgame mode for Genshin Impact 5.7 released yesterday. I have to say, it is one of the most biggest letdowns that I have ever been a part of. When they announced it in the 5.7 special program, it was super cool. Like, the ability to farm artifacts without having to go to domains, the chances of potentially getting better artifacts by doing this. It was one of the craziest things they had announced, and it was so cool. And then it came out. I'm going to give you my pros and cons of why you should or should not play it. And I have to say, I'm disappointed, HoYoverse. I think a lot of us in the community were expecting better, and what you gave us was not necessarily half-assed, but a hard endgame mode that a lot of us are just going to fucking ignore. But let's get into the video. Alright, pros of Stygian Onslaught, the new endgame mode, is Primo Gems. Everybody loves Primo Gems. You get at least 150 each for completing normal, hard, and advanced, which, that's pretty good. I mean, it's not a lot of Primo Gems, but hey, that's still Primo Gems. The other thing about it, you can farm basically any artifact set. Now, it does do the whole domain thing where it's like if you do Viridescent Maiden Beloved, you could get Maiden Beloved instead of Viridescent. But still, you don't have to go clear to Mondstadt now to get Viridescent. You can farm it right there. You can use, number 3, you can use any type of payment for artifacts to get those artifacts, which was just released this update, I believe. Fragile Resin, Original, Transient, and Condensed, you can all use to get those. And Condensed gives you 2 times the rewards. Fragile gives you 3. And I think Transient also gives you 3 as well. But that's cool. Like, that's really awesome. You can do co-op with your friends. Like, literally, it's very similar to the Spiral Abyss, but it's like you can actually fight these bosses with your friends. The only thing about it is you kind of have to go into the match in order to change your team loadout, but I'm not going to fault them on that. Like, that is really, really cool. You can get these things called, they're like feathers. They're basic. Editor, if you could throw up a picture of the variable dice. It's very similar to that's in Star Rail, but it's the Genshin equivalent to it. It's for re-rolling artifacts. So that's pretty cool. And then the other big thing about it is they're not hard. Like, the first 3 levels are not hard to do at all. You can do them in co-op. You can choose the boss. You can stick with the same team for all 3 rounds. You don't have to change. And that's about where the pros of this end. Except for the fact that once you finish dire difficulty, you can get weapon skins. And that's about where the pros end. So now on to the cons. Let me tell you, there's a lot more cons than there are pros. Alright. Cons. It is almost nearly impossible to defeat Menacing, Fearful, and Dire. Like, normal accounts can't do it. I only have met 2 people, I think, so far that can do it. And it's such a nightmare. The other main thing, the timer that they give you for Menacing and then Fearful and Dire, It's absolute shit. They give you 100 and I think it's 180 seconds to kill the boss. The other con, you have to use different teams. So let's say, for instance, you put Ayaka or, I don't know, Ayaka or Skirk or any of those characters on one team. Can't use them on the other. So you can basically kiss the idea of using the same character on two teams goodbye, because that's out the window. So you're not able to do that. Now, I did mention in the pros that you get weapon skins. However, I'm gonna assume that editor's probably throwing something up on the screen. They expire after 41 days. Not just from the event. Oh no. No, Genshin felt like they had to do us dirty with this. Every month that Stygian Onslaught ends, the weapon skins end. And you would think, oh, so they're just gone and we still have them. Nope. They just decided to give them to us and then taketh away. And almost nobody can do dire difficulty. I'm going to throw up on the screen real quick a video that I came across of someone doing dire difficulty, and it's almost impossible to complete it. People have recommended that if you even attempt it, that you better have C6, R5 of every single character on those teams, or else you're just not going to be able to do it. I think the biggest issue that I run into with it is the fact that the amount of time you're given is just not enough to kill the boss. And then it's not even worth it, like with the weapon skins, because it's not even something we get to keep. It's taken away from us literally every month that a new Stygian Onslaught drops. So it's like, why even bother giving it to us, Hoyoverse, if you're just going to take it away? I don't know why I keep saying taketh, but you get my point. It's very frustrating because it's like, but as far as I can tell with the whole dire difficulty one, which is the hardest one, is more for the people that are considered whales in Genshin to test their teams and show what they can do. But still, menacing and fearful are really fucking hard. Like, most of us can't get through that. I don't know necessarily if they're going to change this, considering most of the community is like not, I wouldn't say outraged, but very unhappy with this, because when they announced it in the special program, a lot of people are like, oh, this is really cool that they're bringing this. But now that it's out, a lot of people are like, this isn't cool, Hoyoverse. Like, seriously. You really should give us, or at least change something so that we don't have to deal with this. But I don't think they're going to, and I think this is kind of something we're going to have to put as a loss here. Most people aren't probably going to play this endgame mode. Most people only play it, they're like in dire need of primo gems, or it's like me personally, I really only ever do the Spiral Abyss if I'm in dire need of primo gems. I don't do it regardless. Most of the end games I just skip, and I have a feeling this is going to be very similar, that I'm just not even going to waste my time with. But yeah, the cons compared to the pros are pretty bad. But I don't want to be careful how I word this, because it could, for someone who actually enjoys the event, it could insult someone. But I don't necessarily think it's a bad endgame mode. I just think a lot more time and effort could have been put into it. And maybe listening to the community's feedback on it might have been better than just deciding that that's what we wanted, when in reality there was a lot of it that was like, we didn't want this at all. But I'm gonna go ahead and say I probably will not participate in it. That's my biggest con of all. Literally, most people will not participate in this event because of the fact that it's just impossible to complete. Thank God it's not limited, because people would be scrambling around trying to figure out how to complete it in time. I think the biggest issue with it is the fact that it feels rushed in a way, like they didn't fully prepare for how the community was going to react to when it officially came out, how bad people did not like it. But let's get into sort of my thoughts and whether I think you should play or not. All right. So after all of that said, I've shown you evidence of in-game stuff that just was not as well executed as it could have been. Do I think you should play it? If I'm being honest with myself, and I feel like I kind of also have to be honest with the community, even though this is my personal opinion, I feel like you should skip it. It's one of those sort of things where they came out with it, but it's just in endgame mode. It's not gonna harm your account to skip it. They give you primos. If I could recommend anything, just do the easy up to maybe menacing or fearful. Don't even try to do dire, because you get the feathers of enlightenment, I think they're called, something like that. Editor, if you could just throw up a picture on the screen. You get those if you do menacing and fearful. So I honestly wouldn't even recommend doing dire. Do I think you should try to do it? Maybe, depending on how your characters are built. Me personally, I probably wouldn't try it, but it's one of those things where it's not going to hurt your account if you just decide not to participate. Like, at least do, every time it comes out, the normal, hard, and advanced. But just don't worry about the other stuff. But that's my personal opinion. Let me know down in the comments below if you guys enjoy this type of content. I know this one's a little bit different, but I just had to get my voice out there. I really was quite annoyed when this came out. But let me know down below if you disagree or agree with me. Let me know your feelings about how you feel about Stygian Onslaught, and if you feel like as though there's certain things Genshin's been doing lately that you're not as happy about from like some of their past stuff. Leave a like if you did enjoy this type of content. I know it's a bit out of my ballpark, because I don't typically do these like full in-depth videos about like my thoughts about new content. But let me know if you did enjoy. Subscribe. There will be new content every week on Tuesday and Fridays. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys there.